Hi, welcome to The Financial Operator. Once again, we are here with David Forster. David is a systems guy. You are the king of systems and helping businesses get the chaos out of their lives, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just kind of tell your story and go from there. But wanted to give a quick introduction. What is what would you call your business? Your fractional COO? Is that
Fractional COO, fractional integrator, depending on your lingo, efficiency, like expert really in operations.
Got it. All right. Well, take it away, David. Tell us about you and all of your business experience. I know you have a ton.
Yeah. The entrepreneurial bug bit me early, right? I had my first business ever was just a side gig cutting trees out of the neighbor farm's pasture, right? He said $1 a tree. I was on it. Like, all right, give me an axe. I'm out. Like, what's a tree? Is it 4 inches tall or does it have to be a certain, just
little saplings out in the yard.
And then I had a hamster breeding business that accidentally occurred. I had 2 hamsters that I'd gotten from a friend that were supposed to be 2 girls. They were not. And ended up with 20 hamsters that turned into 5 terrariums, and I was selling the babies to the local pet store. And I was like, hey, this works. All right. And then it just got to the point
you
where
might be the first hamster breeder I've ever met, but
it's as a livestock breeding business is what I like to call it. We had a few too many escapees, and that one ended pretty abruptly. So we ended that one. But I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. Grew up on a farm. Work ethic, working with my hands, being in the dirt, building things was just my nature. And so getting into the green industry with landscaping was kind of the first entry for me as kind of a solopreneur on a real business. And then moved to Kansas City area and started another landscape business down there that grew, and we acquired a couple other small mowing businesses to kind of grow in that one. And over the years, we've done three landscape businesses, a logistics business, a retail bike shop, and a book sales. Like when Amazon wasn't what it is now, we were a seller on Amazon of reselling large book collection. And so dabbled in a little bit of everything. I've operated a gym for a while for a guy when I was in high school. And so I've just kind of been a little bit everywhere. Worked for an architect. I love the operation side of everything. So I've kind of just jumped in a lot of different places. But the beginning of the systems side of it though really kicked in. Efficiency's always been my thing. I've always kind of found the lazy way to do something. I'm not a big guy, so it wasn't easy for me to do farm work, right? So I had to find these efficient ways to do things and leverage either tools or something, or just pure brute force of believing I could do it. And so that was how I ran my businesses. And so after we got married and started a business, 3 weeks before our wedding.
You started a business 3 weeks before your wedding?
Yep. I don't necessarily recommend that, but it worked out for us. And we
God, it did,
yeah, exactly. But what happened was we started, that was the second landscape business I'd had, and the first real sizable business with my wife. We ran a couple of the other the books and the logistics were ones that we had done in the leading up to getting married, but sold those off and started the landscape company right before. And over the next 3.5 years, it was growing, it was thriving, great reviews, customers loved us, cash flow was good. She had quit her job and come to work full time in the office and running the office and phones and stuff like that for me. I was doing sales and design and running the teams. And then I woke up one day in January when it was winter and cold and we weren't having snow. So I was not loving the cash flow and had a dream that we were supposed to sell the business. And I woke up and I was like, I don't know what that means because we're killing it. What the heck? So I told her a couple days later and she was like, oh, thank God. And I was like, wait, what does that mean? And she said, I've been miserable for months. And I kind of knew it, but I just didn't know why. And I didn't know how to fix it. You know, newlywed had led into 3 years later of really never having time, just us. It was all business until, 9, 10, midnight, doing designs and bids and invoicing and all the things. And when she came to work in the office, it was now all of our conversations were business because she was in it too. Right. And I was enjoying it. I'm like, yeah, this is life. This is great. And she was miserable. So, she had said, I felt that a couple weeks ago. I told God he'd have to tell you because I'm not touching that one. And so that's what he did. I had that dream, very, very clear dream, more than I've ever had. And,
was it just like a booming voice into your head, like you need to sell your bit, like a Field of Dreams moment, or
kind of, yeah. Like there wasn't like a face-to-face conversation. I remember being in the dream. I can't remember the exact setting, but it was just like lay it down was actually the phrase that I got, and I was like,
that is very Field of Dreams. Like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up reading a book actually, like a week or two later, that I'd read this series by Rick Joyner, and the foreword on each of the books leading up to it was the same. And I'm like, I don't really need to read it, but I'll read it just to get in the groove of the book again, because it'd been a minute since I'd read the last one, and totally different forward in it. And he had a story in there about being on a hunting trip in a tree stand. And the Lord said, lay your business at my feet. And he said, I already did. It's yours. Like, we've always dedicated it to you. And, so whatever you need to do, it's yours. And he said, a year later, I was bankrupt with a crappy car and $1,000. And I stopped right in that moment. And I said, God, whatever I have to do to not experience that, you tell me what to do. If it's sell it, if it's lock the doors and walk away, if I whatever it is, you tell me what to do. So we went through a journey of selling and contract falling through on closing day to then finding a new buyer and going. So we went through a whole process with this whole thing. And there's a really cool testimony about all the money side of it and everything that for another day. But
I'm going to pause you for just a second, just because this is always a topic that I am interested in, the buying and selling of businesses, right?
Yep.
And this is something that I get asked a lot is like, how do you find a buyer for your business? So
yeah.
Was it somebody that you knew? Did you use a broker? Like, what was your action plan to get it sold?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's preface this with, I'm like 26, 27 years old at the time. And this was, like I had no idea what I was doing in this realm, right? I knew there were brokers, but I just wasn't interested in like sharing the fee and going through all that process and having to just do all the things. So I put it on Craigslist, which was actually a thing at that time, and had a ton of phone calls. And most of the phone calls were, "How come you're selling? Are you burned out?" And I was like, "No, man, I'm loving it. It's just God told me to sell it." And it's like,
I had a dream that told me that I had to sell.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy is crazy.
Right. There's some interesting conversations along the way. But that was the way we did it. And I had always, from that, I realized I had always just built a network, and built a reputation for not being cutthroat, not being that guy. Right. So I always had a great network of people to talk to that could then refer and get, so everybody, once they realized who it was that was selling, because I had all the NDA stuff in place, there were the people that knew who I was were like, oh, okay, well, this is making a little more sense. So that was a big part of it. And since then we've sold, overall, we've sold multiple businesses, all been through existing. I've never used a broker. Could we have made more on the other end? Maybe, maybe not after all the fees and stuff, but it's always worked out very well for both parties and our teams. And I've always just gone through my own network of relationships. So
yeah, I will say I probably started developing my network later in life. But it's one of those things that I strongly believe, I don't know. They always say it's not not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I believed that until it started happening, right? Like until you're in that point where it's like, okay, there are opportunities everywhere. It's just, you actually have to know people and they have to trust you in a way before you, like, goes both ways, obviously, but having relationships with people obviously makes buying and selling businesses much easier. So
you'll know people that are looking before. Like if you're wanting to sell, you're going to know when people are looking for your type of business or another type of business. If you're buying, you're going to have people that, oh yeah, I've got a buddy who's looking to retire. Like it's never going to hit the market. If you're waiting for things to hit the market, those aren't necessarily the really good ones. It's usually the ones that never hit the market, just like housing. Right. So yeah, that was a big one. I'm glad you asked that.
All right. So let's go back to your story though, because you'd sold your business. What did you do after you sold that business?
Yeah, I thought we were going to start a CrossFit gym, honestly, and that was before CrossFit was really a thing. We had this idea for a gym that was like not your traditional gym. Cause I love fitness and I had worked in a gym before and I had my ideas of how to make gyms better and more kind of more of a triathlete type style. Had a business partner that was going to be the finance guy on part of it. More on like the handling the finances and tracking. Cause I was more on the operation side and, just didn't play out. And that's when I was like, I have no idea what we're going to do next then. So we took a couple of months just to us. And that was the best investment we'd ever made. We're been married 17 years now, and that was 13 years ago. So it was, actually 14 coming up on 14 years ago. So, it was a really good time just to invest in our relationship as a couple, what our plans were for the future, and then reestablish some trust in and that's why we've been able to build businesses together since then. People ask us all the time, like, how do you guys work together all day, every day? Like, don't you just want to kill each other? I'm like, no, we love each other. That's why we got married, and we operate really well together. Excuse me. She balances my skill set really well. And so reestablishing that trust that I wasn't just going to go into hustle mode and just 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, just keep just 24/7. My phone's on and I'm doing this. And I'm always like, that's my personality, is just to go all in. And so establishing those boundaries and setting the right systems in place. I had systems, and everybody has systems no matter what. It's either in your head and you just got to remember it every day, or you actually have a real system. But my systems were built around efficiency. Like, this is how you mow a yard in order to get it done with, 30% faster than the average guy. This is where you park. This is where, like, I had those systems, how you load, where the tool goes, how you do this, who does what, like all those internal kind of things of efficiency were there. But the delegation, the training, the onboarding, just all of the other peripheral, I'd say peripheral. It's not really, it's just the higher level stuff I didn't have in place. And that was what ate up all of my family time. Yeah. So that was that next step of our business life and our marriage, was establishing those things and setting those priorities and those boundaries. And I'm not going to say that for the last 14 years it's been perfect. It's continued to evolve and get better. And then when we had our daughter 2.5 years ago, that's when everything like really had to get capped off, as far as setting those things. Cause we built business together. We didn't know we could have kids. So it was a pretty long time frame. And so we were just building business together and building community in our businesses, especially the bike shop. And so, we were just kind of doing our thing. But then,
so how did you get into the bike shop? Cause you didn't open the gym. Did you decide to do the bike shop next?
So no, yeah, sorry. That was a big skip. So after the first sold one, did some property management for a little bit for a friend, for about a year. And then started another landscape business and focused that one more on the design build side, just a more project based versus service, just to try it in a little bit different model. We did some service and stuff along with it, but it was mostly focused around that. Did that for 4 years and sold that one to a young guy who was just getting started. So it was a really great blessing to him to get launched quickly. And the reason we sold on that one though was I went for a bike ride. I always took some time off in the summer around her birthday and took a week off. And I was like, she said, if you don't ride that bike, I'm going to sell it. And I was like, oh, hold on. So I went and rode it. And it was like the best thing I've ever done. I was just like the most stress-free, like I'd felt in a long time. I always joke, the bike shop came from a bike ride because there was nobody could call me. Nobody could ask me questions. There weren't customer questions or team questions or any of that. It was just me and the road and silence. Like just, it was amazing. And all the stress just kind of fell off because I had to focus on not going in the ditch. Right. So, so I came back from that ride. I'm like, man, I got to share this with more people. How do I do that? And did some digging and research, and like everything in my path, I thought like a couple years later, we would kind of structure the business a little better for sale and we would sell it and then maybe, get some capital from that and start a bike shop. 3 months later, we were having the grand opening and still had the landscape company at that time and was dual operating for a few months until we got it sold and transitioned fully. And just focused on the mental health side on that. And that's always been a big focus for us, is even in the landscaping, was building spaces where people could have a retreat and just go de-stress from the world. And so that transitioned to the bike shop. And then we sold the bike shop to another shop owner who could kind of triangulate. And that was better for us life-wise with the little one now. And retail and doing bike events in the evenings isn't conducive to having a toddler or a newborn at the time in the beginning. So that was why we sold that one. And I just went head on into helping other owners put those right systems in place so that they can sell one day, so that they can go on vacation ever.
You have definitely like proved your concept here, right? Like having systems that are sellable allows you to sell your business.
Yeah. So I didn't build like a Facebook and sell for billions, right? It was they were service businesses, but they're the boring businesses that everybody's trying to buy now. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about kind of what you do now, because I feel like you probably get the same answer that I do, or the same question maybe when you're telling somebody what you do. And it's like this vague thing, like they may kind of understand it, but not really. Right. So give us like a 10-second overview of like what you truly come in and do. It can be longer than 10 seconds if you need it to be.
Yeah. No, and you're right. Like this is something that is the most crucial side of what I do and what you do, is like getting that understanding across, because it's an area that most business owners don't enjoy and aren't super gifted in. And so even just trying to explain it, you kind of get into that like technical speak that nobody understands because your
eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So I basically, I help optimize operations and systems so that you can get out of the chaotic fires, putting out all of the just the stressful anxiety, and have a team that knows what they need to do. So I'd say we implement and optimize systems so teams don't guess and owners don't stress. It just gives you every day, this is what's going to happen. Because
give me an example of like what a system would be, because sometimes I think like we use that word, right? We know what systems are, but for somebody that's never implemented a system or like called it that, how could they recognize what you're talking about?
And I'm not talking about software. I'm not talking about a CRM, right? Those are great tools to use to operate your systems. I'm talking about when somebody is hired, or what is your recruiting and hiring system? What are the steps that you go through, phases that you go through, from putting an ad on a job board, Indeed or something like that, to like evaluating the application, to the interview, to the hiring, and then what are the first 10 days, 30 days look like? What are the steps that person takes? Like making that a duplicatable and repeatable plan or system that everybody that joins your team at least in a category of positions, is going to go through the same process. How do you load your trucks in the morning? Same process. Where are all the tools mounted? Like exact same place in every truck. That's our system. That's what we do. How do you check all that stuff? How do you track it? What are the KPIs? What does your scorecard look like? It can start to get overwhelming when you really start going into all of it. But it's the steps that you take, that you're taking now, even as a small operator and as a day-to-day owner operator, you're taking those steps. You have those systems. It's just you've memorized them because you built them. So it's just your day-to-day routine, and it's getting all that stuff out and on paper in a Google Drive, wherever it needs to be. And so somebody else on your team can look at it, can understand it, and implement it without you.
Which cuts down on the phone calls, I'm sure.
What's that?
I said that cuts down on the phone calls, right?
It should.
Sometimes.
Yes. I actually have a whole template system for cutting down on the, hey boss, what do we do? Question.
That is so a lot of my clients are the same people that you are working with, right? And so they are the owner of whatever business,
right?
A heating and cooling company, and they've got 10 employees, and each one of them, like, they are calling them every day, like, oh, hey, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? Hey, can you go get me parts? Can you go do this? I need that.
I forgot this tool. It's laying on the counter in the it's on the workbench in the shop. Can you bring that over to me?
Which your system on loading your truck would stop, right?
Yep. It's like, if there should be one in the shop, you shouldn't have to take the one out of your truck to use in the shop, first of all. And if there's one that was broken and that's why you took it out of your truck, then there's a system for knowing when tools are broken so that they can get fixed. Like all of that stuff adds up, pennies at a time and seconds at a time, but it's amazing what it does.
Exactly. I owned a restaurant, coffee shop and restaurant, right? And so the kitchen was just full of systems and they were posted everywhere. Like, this is how you make this. But this is also in order to, like, when you run out of, like, when you get down to one left of something, then you write it on the board, like, we need to replace this, right? So there's all these systems in place so that it's no longer, you're not getting phone calls like, hey, we're out of lettuce, when they should have known that like 2 days ago, right? So it's kind of that same philosophy, just in a different format.
And I do that with a lot of the service tech, like anything that has a van or a truck, irrigation, HVAC, garage doors, that kind of stuff, where you have a ton of the same little parts that you keep in bulk. And like, what do you have in inventory at the warehouse, and what do you keep on the truck, and what is that cut off? How often do you check it to refill that, so that you're not, you're trying to repair somebody's irrigation system and you should have an elbow in this exact size with, some crimps and stuff like that and you go and go, oh, I used the last one on the last stop, I'm not gonna be able to do this today. It's like, what? No, you have 6 stops today. There's a high likelihood you're going to need 3 of these at every stop. Like, keep 15 of them on the truck all the time. As soon as you open that last box,
one of those things that we kind of work through on the financial side, right? Like, being able to have that back stock of some inventory too, so that you, like, first of all, so if you're inventorying parts, you're doing it on the same day every week. That's kind of one of my things, because I'm like, if you do it on a Monday this week, but you do it on a Thursday next week, like, it's hard to figure out how much you need to order.
Is that 7 days or is that 10 days? Like,
right.
What gap are we measuring? Yeah.
So there's your system on your inventory, right? Like, pick a day and do it that time every day or every week. But that also allows you to, like, know, okay, for your example, if you use 3 of those parts on generally on every stop that you're going to go to, then you can very easily figure out how much you need over the next week until you get to your next inventory date. Whatever it is. And then we can work backwards to figure out, like, how many dollars do you need in order to be able to kind of build up your inventory, so that you're not having to do that daily. Or
go ahead.
Or, if we can get you to a month out of inventory, does that save you time, or are you just then, like, sitting on too much inventory, like figuring out that
Or if can you buy in bulk and get such a great deal when you buy, 100 at a time versus 10 at a time, that it's just totally worth buying them. And then knowing your overhead like that allows you to price properly. There's so many service guys that I talk to that, what are you charging? Well, this much an hour is market standard. I'm like, okay, well, what are you making from that? Like, is that what you should be charging? And you know this better than I do, but like, if you know your overhead, you can reverse engineer it and you can find out, am I not charging enough or am I overspending? Exactly. Right? Like you said, am I carrying too much inventory and that's causing my like profit margins and what I need to charge to go up for just no reason. I don't need 2 years worth of elbows, like, or hinges or whatever it might be. So it's crucial to know that stuff. And that's a whole nother system in itself, is what are you tracking? And
yes, but like your work and mine, they go so hand in hand. And I feel like in general, like both of these things need to be brought in kind of at the same time, especially if the owner or whoever is running the company is not particularly skilled in either of these areas, right? Like these are things that I can only help so much if their operations are a complete disaster. And you're the same way, right? Like you can, if you don't have systems, if there's not finances in place, like sometimes it's hard to build out these systems as well, because using that for an example, you can't get them to the point where they're able to operate past just the single day of like whatever's on fire needs to be taken care of that single day. But both of our work can kind of help guide, just make everybody's life a lot easier.
It's there's something you touched on there that I was gonna reiterate, but we'll come back to it. It'll come back to me
when it'll come to you, I'm sure. So when you're talking, like, what is your kind of ideal, when should somebody call you? Like what size of a company?
I mean, what I'm finding, like for me to come in and really be one-on-one effective, is sometimes it's hard to say a revenue point, because each service has such different margins and ticket size and stuff like that. So like a mowing company is going to be at a lower revenue level than an HVAC company when they have the same number of clients and same number of employees and stuff like that. But generally at like, we could start having an impact at like three technician vehicles. I like to use how many trucks are you running? 5 is probably a good point. If you're at 10 and you haven't really started thinking this direction yet, like there's a huge amount of impact we could have very quickly. But I'd like around that 5.
You have a lot of chaos in your life.
If you have 10 technicians running and you don't have like a very clear, like, congratulations, first of all, to get to that level and not just be burning through people and just fires everywhere and not just being chaos. That takes a pretty systematic mind anyway. It's not out and clarified yet. But 5 trucks was probably kind of that key breakover point. Below that, there's a lot of just standardized stuff that you can tactically start putting in place. That's going to take a lot of the pressure off, though.
Do you work with the owner? This is probably something that a lot of us see too, is that like, as an owner, you want to have your hand in everything at first, right? Like you're just kind of holding on to that information. Does working with you help them figure out ways to release that and be comfortable with releasing that duty?
So yes. And that's, I do a pretty thorough like process of making sure that they're ready for that before I'm going to engage. Because really my goal through my service is that we're going to put this stuff in place to find your second in command. And then we're going to train and onboard that second in command to understand these systems the way that we have put them in place so that you can be out of it. So, if they're just wanting to dive in the middle, the quality of second in command that we can keep or find for them, like, like the second in command that is a true integrator for a business doesn't want somebody telling them they did it wrong and they need to do it this way and breathing down their neck. And they just want to be able to do what they know how to do. They're just not always the most amazing at building the system. Right. My wife's an amazing integrator. Like, she is wired 100%. If you read any EOS stuff and just like her pictures and next to the definition, she is just fantastic. But building the system is like one of the areas that she struggles with. But once it's in place, she can fine tune it. She can run it. I mean, she is just laser precise. So finding that person is a key. It's a big piece of that trust level too, for them to hands off. And
okay, so you just mentioned your wife, and so where do you rank on the visionary and integrator scale?
I would have told you that I'm like 98 visionary and like 2 integrator a few years ago. And that was just my pride. It's like, I'm a visionary. I'm the number one guy. I'm the top guy, right? Like, I know how to build, this, and I can, I'm actually like split. I'm like a pretty equal balance of the two. I can't remember the exact score that I had last time I took it, but it's not very common either, from what I hear, that I'm just kind of neck and neck on the split.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Pretty evenly split. I can't remember my numbers either, but I think I'm like 75% visionary or 80. I don't think they're percentages, but 80 integrator or something like that. But I think, my ego is telling me that that's why I'm good at like buying businesses or taking somebody else's business and fixing it, right? I don't have that strong visionary where I'm like, yes, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. I'm going to have all these big ideas to start something. But once I'm in the middle of it, I can fix all of the different problems that are,
and that's
like, I can see it all.
That's what my pride wouldn't let me understand is that's where I thrive. But I just didn't like the idea of submitting to somebody else's vision or somebody, right? So it took some maturity to this. I mean, this whole season of life right now for me is I have a business. This is my business, but really I'm not in control. Like, I have to submit to the overall decisions of the visionary of the business and then make that real. And it's super fulfilling though. Like, it's been fun.
So going back to vision though, like, what is your vision for your company? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest problems I see is finding those second in command, and being able to find the quality. And this fractional world has been amazing, right? Like, it's a new term around this thing that some people are familiar with, but it's basically a part-time professional. So, there's so many businesses that need that the owner, the visionary, the owner that's just a squirrel that just chasing ideas all over the place, right? Needs somebody to say, knock it off. This is what we're going to focus on right now. That's great. Go enjoy those ideas on a whiteboard, but do this. And to find the person that has that level of aptitude and confidence, it's hard to afford in that gap of businesses that there's so many at that $1 million to $5 million type range. And so to hire a full-time operations manager that isn't just a kind of an experienced technician that's going to take over and run the other crews, to find somebody that can run a business, it's expensive. So that's the hole that I think long-term that we'd be able to kind of fill the gap for these businesses, is to place some fractional integrators like myself. And scale that way, where we can really help not just place the fractional, but also like prepare you for a fractional. If we put the fractional in place and they're like, you don't have, these systems stink, I'm out of here. Right. Like, well, okay, let's get that fine tuned, and then let's get you a fractional. And then if and when you're ready for a full-time, let's get a full-time onboarded and really just kind of be an end-to-end solution to get them over that hump, get them in that 5 to 10 million range where now they can afford it and it makes sense. There's a full-time need for it.
Got it. Okay. So you've mentioned a couple of things about like getting their systems in place, but what does the first like 60 days look like when somebody's working with you?
Yeah. Depends on what they have in place so far, but the first 2 weeks, I generally send me everything you got. I'm going to evaluate it. I'm going to try to break everything I can and see what actually stands up. And then we're going to prioritize what is actually causing fires right now. And like, let's start fixing some of that stuff. And then slowly implement and get the team acclimated. It's not a rip the Band-Aid off and just roll with it. You're going to lose your team in that. So it's really just an onboarding and evaluation and assessment of where we're at, setting those priorities in place, and then starting to put in place. In that 60 days, we'll probably, 5 to 6 key systems can be really implemented in a way that's sustainable, create those new habits.
So is somebody generally working with you for like an ongoing amount of time, or like a set 6 months or something?
Yeah. 90 days can be a huge like launch point. I've had a couple clients that like they've got stuff in place. It's just not sticking. And it's just because they just keep changing it. Imagine that. And I've been plenty guilty of that. But so that 90 days to just get the ball rolling and implemented, and the new habits in place, and the team believing that, okay, this is what we're going to do. And you kind of have that, like, sometimes it's just, you don't have the other person telling you like, no, this is going to work. Just keep doing it. And so there for that, the accountability and that stuff as well. And so 90 days is kind of like the shortest time frame. 6 to 12 months is pretty good, but that we're probably not going to be able to get that second in command fully running by that point. And depending on just how the business wants to move forward from there, it can be a longer term, lighter duty, longer term engagement where that integrator or second in command might just want some coaching ongoing, and just some mentorship, right? Just somebody to bounce things off of, and hey, we ran into this. Do we need to change this? Blah blah blah. Because it's a living document. Like, systems aren't just like print it, put it in a book, you're done. We've grown from 20 to 50 employees. What do we need to change? What needs to improve?
Reassess. Yeah. So the owner that hires you, what kind of return are they? It's not all going to be a financial return that they're getting when they hire you, right? Like, it's going to be emotional, physical, possibly. But what should somebody expect? Like, what kind of feelings can they get from working with you?
Yeah. And that's the cool thing too, is like, everybody has their own goals, right? So sometimes it's, this business is, I'm working 80 to 100 hours a week, and I haven't seen my family in, days. When I get home, my kids are already in bed. I see my wife for 3 seconds, like when she barely wakes up because she heard the door open, like that type of stuff I hear quite a bit. And so putting that back on your plate, right? If you're working 80 hours a week and we can get these systems in place and the right responsibilities on the right plates, a lot of times your team is waiting, right? Like, waiting for these things to do, and you're just holding on to it because you want to be the hero. There's a lot of that involved too. And I'm very familiar being the hero complex. That just feels good to be needed, right? And you don't know where your value is going to be once all these things are in place and nobody needs you anymore. Well, are they just going to like leave and start their own thing? Or are they going to no, that's where your value is at, is in not being needed.
Yeah. You think you're the hero, but you're actually the bottleneck of your business.
Yeah, that sustainability is huge. So to answer your question, less stress, more time for the things that you value. If you want to spend more time on a certain area of your business, spend your time there. If you want to do more sales, go do more sales. If you just miss being in the field because you've had to be doing all this dumb back-end business stuff that you freaking hate because you're just a really good craftsman that started this thing because of your love for your craft, and you haven't been able to do that in 3 years because you just don't have time and your team does all of it, and you just wish you could just get back out there and dig a hole somewhere or do something or operate a piece of equipment, go do it. If you want to just go to more t-ball games with your kids so you can be there, you want to coach their little league team, you want to go on more vacations, like, use it how you want to see fit, but it's going to buy you back a lot of time. As long as you don't just stop doing anything else, you'll see the financial end of it because of that, right?
Yeah.
Your energy, the way you lead, the way your team performs, like, you're going to have more time and you're going to make more money, and you're going to have a business that's worth more and more sustainable, which is going to be easier to recruit a team to that sees a future, sees sustainability for themselves. So it comes full cycle.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we can kind of wrap up after that, but is there any last tips, last advice, anything that you feel like you want to tell everyone?
Don't get overwhelmed. Like, I know it's easy, especially for you and I that know the terminology and already know the depths of it, to like just go into these chats. And I'm sure I ranted a little bit. But don't get overwhelmed. Keep it simple. And if you're wondering what system to start with today, what's the thing that just you said, I've answered this 100 times already, or why does this keep happening? Or when you want to throw your phone against the wall, pause for a second and go, okay, how can we make this into how can I make this into 5 steps that answer, whatever question, like something simple. Just pick one and do that.
I like that a couple times. I've answered this 100 times comes up all the time, right? And you might even say that to whoever you're talking to. Like, I've had to answer this for you 100 times. But that probably means it's not written down somewhere, or it's something that they need to constantly be asking you because there's no process in place.
Every time you say it slightly different. And it just,
so they think there's an actual different answer for every slightly different situation.
When really it's, just get it written down. And actually, if they, I don't know if you do this or not, but if somebody is like looking for a quick template on how to communicate with a team in those kind of situations, I've got a Think Like Me template that really helps just at the base level in like 10 minutes, fill this thing out and give it to them as a cheat sheet. And it really helps develop their thinking before they call you. So they call you with solutions versus questions. So if they want that, I'm happy to send it to them. We can figure something out.
Okay. Well, that's a good lead into how can somebody reach you?
Yeah. Systemsoversweat.com is the easiest place to just kind of get a quick breakdown, schedule a call with me or something if you want to talk some strategies, or just find me on Facebook, David Forster on Facebook. Should be pretty obvious with the background and other stuff.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you, David, for your time. It was great talking. I am a big fan of systems, so we could probably talk for hours, but if somebody wants to reach out, I hope they do.
Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Yes. I will talk with you soon, I'm sure.